I told you on Wednesday's show that Susie and I, my wife and I, went to the Los Angeles premiere of American Underdog, and it is a beautiful movie, and it is about the story of Kurt and Brenda Warner. And when Kurt went on his magical carpet ride from unknown to Super Bowl champion and Super Bowl MVP, the whole world was saying, this is a movie, it should be a movie, and now it is, and it's out on Christmas Day. And Zachary Levi plays Kurt, and Anna Paquin plays Brenda, and they are awesome in it. And I could not be happier that this film that is perfect for our times and what everybody needs in our world is a good feel-good movie, good sports movie coming out on Christmas Day. And joining me here to talk about all of that are my two dear friends whose life is right there on the silver screen, Kurt and Brenda Warner. Good to see you guys.
It is good to be here. And you don't know how happy it makes us for you to say, it's a good movie.
You know, I know you said that, backstage that, you're kind of a little bit concerned sometimes when you see friends.
Well, I mean, because, it's hard because you have friends and we've had a number of people see it. And, of course, they're like, oh, it's good. And a lot of times you're like, oh, what are they going to say?
Right.
And so when people see it and see it in the movie theater and just listening to you on your show yesterday, like genuinely like, hey guys, it's good.
It is good.
I mean, it's good. I'm excited because it's good. And I don't have to sit here and tell Kurt, no, it's good. But how good that makes us feel because that's what you want at the end of the day is you want people to connect to this movie. You want them to be excited about this movie. And you want to make a good movie. You don't want it to be something that's out there forever and people go, it's all right.
Well, I mean, you'll know if people are telling you the truth because if they go higher register on you, like, no, it's a good movie. Like that's when you should get a little bit concerned. Like, no, it was not. No, it was really good.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem. I genuinely mean it. It's a beautiful movie, and it's what is it like, Brenda, and you, Kurt, too, about seeing such a personal story being told like this for the whole world to see?
Well, I feel vulnerable, and you know me well enough that is not what I'm comfortable being.
Yes, that is not your default.
It is not, and yet, I really believe it's going to be worth that because we show the good, the bad, and the ugly about what real life is, and I think people relate to that. I really want a single mom sitting there watching it think, if she can do this, and she waited for someone to look at her that way, I hope that single mom waits. And I also hope that people that, lose somebody, like I've lost people in my life, I hope that they just can take a deep breath and think, okay, I can get through it. There is another side. So much is happening in this world right now, even watching tornado footage in the movie.
Yes.
People are picking up and cleaning up all over the country. I mean, there's so many things to relate to. So even though I had to be vulnerable and share it all, I really do think it's going to make a difference in people's lives. So that makes me, know it's worth it.
How about you, Kurt?
I mean, it's, again, it starts with people liking it. And once people like it, you take a deep breath. And so much of our journey, I remember us kind of going, why do we have to go through this? Why do we have to be here? I know Brenda, obviously, with some of the personal stuff. Why me? And you see that in the movie. And, not that we still wanted to go through it or right now it's okay that we went through it, but you get to this point and you go, well, maybe this is why. Maybe we've got an opportunity here with this movie and our story to impact people and to encourage people and inspire and challenge people in different ways with where they find themselves right now. You mentioned it. How many people find themselves in an underdog role now that never thought they would be here 3 years ago? And so that's kind of our hope. And I'm excited about that. As much as you have to put stuff out there and hope that, the people involved do the right thing with the movie and they share the right story and people connect with it, we really do believe that this story has a chance to really impact people and touch people.
Kurt and Brenda Warner here in person on the Rich Eisen Show. And to me, what makes a terrific sports movie is obviously there's got to be someone to root for. Check that box. Right. Then there's a love story. There's always going to be a love story in there, and check that box. And then there's frequently, in sports movies, more often than not, a father-son story. And this movie checks the love story and the father-son story in the same box.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. Were you guys concerned to make Zach sort of a focus of this film from the very beginning when you saw the script?
I was not concerned. I didn't think this movie could be made without that. Because what you see in this movie is, to me, he's the glue that breaks down the walls that both of us have put up. You know, where I'm going and how I see myself at that point in time in our journey, and where Brenda's at and what she had been through at that point in time in her journey. You know, we both had like, you know, is this really going to work for both of us? And it was Zach that was the glue behind that. But to me, the bigger part of it, as you mentioned, a lot of sports movies, it's the son chasing after, you know, dad's, you know,
ghost
or whatever. Like, you know, I want that, you know, him to be proud of me, and I want to show him that I could do this. What I love about this story is I was doing that with my son. I was chasing after what he was showing us and what the life that he was living and making him proud of me. And we were both inspired by him. You know, I think too often we feel like, well, I'm the older one, I'm the father, I'm the leader, I'm supposed to impact and inspire, you know, my kids. And that to me was what was really cool about this story, is that it was Zach that was inspiring us throughout this whole journey. And, you know, we can be impacted and we can be inspired by anybody. It doesn't matter their age. It doesn't matter the role that we play. When you look at the life of our son and what he's taught us, that to me was a crucial part of this movie that was different to me than most sports movies.
No doubt.
But I mean, Kurt fell in love with my kids before he fell in love with me, and I get it. Like, they're easy to fall in love with, and I'm not. I wasn't. I'm not easy. So when he fell in love with the kids and we'd continue to date, we'd get ready to break up over something, and he would say, "Well, I get the kids," and I think, no, the boyfriend never.
I really think I might have.
Never.
I really think I might have.
No. So suddenly he wanted to work it out, and we made up, and you know, life went on. But that's the love. That's the kind of man that I want to marry. You know, that falls in love with my kids the way he did. And keep in mind, he was 21 years old. What 21-year-old starts dating a divorced mother of two? That's 25 years old, former Marine, cheated on, divorced. Like, he was asking for it. You know, he really was. But that's the kind of man I married.
Yes, and a child with needs as well.
Yep.
You know, and the boy who plays Zach in this film is remarkable.
Remarkable.
Just remarkable. And it's so it's just, again, it's just a beautiful thing to watch unfold. Kurt and Brenda Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show. Another aspect of a sports movie that makes it terrific, checks the boxes, Dennis Quaid is in it. I mean,
No doubt.
What
he
a
always
cast.
makes it better.
What a cast. You get Dennis Quaid as
Unbelievable.
Vermeil. Was Vermeil as open? I mean, who plays Mike Martz in the movie?
Chance Kelly.
Chance Kelly. Phenomenal.
Was Mike as really opposed to your presence there as he is in the film, or do they play that up a little bit?
No, he was. And yeah, I mean, the stuff in the movie, you know, is all obviously, as it says, based on true story.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, you know, I can't tell you exactly what happened behind the scenes.
Yes.
But a lot of that is my interpretation based on my interaction with Mike Martz. So yeah, so a lot of the stuff you see in the movie, that checks every box of what really happened. Is, you know, Mike really trying to push me, because, you know, here's a guy coming from grocery store and arena football that nobody knows anything about.
Yeah.
And he's never going to get to see me between the lines until I'm between the lines with the ball in my hands. And so his goal was to go, let me see if this guy can hack it with as much pressure as I can put on him every single day. I mean, just to kind of go beyond that, I remember doing an interview about week 4 of the season, and it was Marshall and Isaac and Torrey and all the skill players on that team. I remember the interviewer asking them, okay, did you guys know Kurt was going to be this good? And it was Marshall, I think, that responded, and he's like, we actually thought Kurt was terrible, because every day in practice, all he did was get yelled at. You know, all we heard was him getting yelled at time and time again. So, you know, none of us had any idea that he was any good, because that's what we heard every single day. And so that was very true to form to what I felt like and what I was going through in those moments.
What was it like for you when he was going through that magic carpet ride?
Well, I mean, Kurt's so easily liked, and he would call and say, this man hates me. And I think, what is wrong with that man? Because nobody hates him. I mean, you just can't. And so I thought, something's going on that Kurt's not seeing, you know, and this whole time watching him play football and me not being a sports fan or a football fan, you know, it was all like watching him try and just get that opportunity. So if this was the man that was going to stop that, I mean, it just didn't make sense how he couldn't like him. So I thought maybe he isn't that good. You know, maybe this guy sees that he isn't that good. So for now to understand and look back, and you see it in the movie, for the reason why he treated him like that, you know, to bring up, you know, what kind of man he really is and what kind of player he was going to be. Now it makes sense. But during the time, I thought, who is this man?
Who is this Mike Marks man?
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that I love about the movie, maybe the best, is that, you know, there were different characters in the movie that when they're first introduced, you're like, I don't like this guy. But as the movie progresses, you come to understand everybody's role in getting me to where I ended up. And that's what this movie is so much about, is that it's not about the, you know, where I ended up, and because everybody knows that story. It's about how I got there and who shaped me along the way, from Zach to Brenda to, you know, my college coach, and there's some of my high school coach mixed into my college coach, and then Mike Martz and Dick Vermeil, and all those people that had to step in their role, because without their role, you know, even at times when we didn't like their role was key in shaping the person that I would become.
Well, it's interesting that you would say that, Kurt, because the guy who plays Mooch is a very handsome man, and I don't know, you know,
he's known in my family as good-looking Mooch.
Yeah,
you know, that's how everybody references him. It's like, hey, is good-looking Mooch going to be there? Is good-looking Mooch coming to the premiere? Good-looking Mooch. So I'm just saying I told you guys that, you know, he was a looker back in the day. He was a good-looking guy back in the day.
How did that?
He's easy to look at, isn't he? He's easy to look
good-looking
at.
Mooch.
Yeah.
Good-looking
I mean,
Mooch.
you could have turned him into, you know, nobody really needs to know that he's that good-looking or used to be. Like that's a casting choice that I
It was a good casting choice.
I thought you could have put your foot down.
I thought that was a good casting choice. You know, I mean, and again, even guys like Mooch, as much fun as we have with Mooch, I love in short role in the movie, but I love the role in the movie because it's so key to this whole thing. I mean, me getting cut and that scene there, I think, is a beautiful scene because you don't see very many pro athletes do what I did in that moment. But the dialogue between Mooch and I is that...
how accurate was that? Because I know we bust so many stones about this on game day
that
morning.
Wasn't fully accurate. It wasn't Mooch that actually cut me specifically.
Made a decision,
yeah,
right?
And so we didn't necessarily have that conversation then,
right?
But we've had that conversation since then.
Okay.
And you know, as Mooch always goes, "No, you cut you. You know, I didn't cut you. You cut you." And it's 100% true that I did cut me. You know, that I wasn't ready for that moment. That I needed more seasoning and timing.
Yeah.
And so even like a moment like that you're bummed, and you know, again, we always blame Mooch for it. It was something that I needed at that point in time to develop into the player that I would be when I got back with the Rams. So all of that stuff, and again, there's truth in all of that. It's just how and when and how it played out to tie it into the movie, which I think they did beautifully.
Wow, it's so great. I'm so happy for you guys. I really am, because it is a beautiful movie, and it's so well representative of you and who you guys are as a couple and as a you know, parenting group, which you are together, you know, and you know, and it ties everything all together. You know, Treasure House, which you have going on, built in the Phoenix area, where folks like Zach can come and live self-sufficient lives, and your guys' success as a couple and as a family unit has led to that. I honestly, it gets me all choked up. What does your family think about this movie?
You know, we have 7 kids, and
yeah.
When they all watch it, Kurt and I are kind of shocked because, you know, they tease us like all kids tease parents. They're so tired of the stories. They've had to hear stories.
Yeah.
You know, we walked uphill to school, you know, in the snow, all those kind of stories. So when they watch it, they seem to appreciate us, you know, a little bit more. Like, I didn't realize that when you told that story that that's what it felt like. That the movie does that for them. And, you know, to know that Treasure House, which is a residential facility for adults with intellectual disability, that's my baby, because I realized that's what we're going to leave behind. You know, we're leaving behind a place that is just the first of hopefully many that give these young people a full life. And I'm raising 7 kids. I want them all to have a full life. It's all going to look differently for each child, but he deserves it as much as anybody else. So that is my honor to, you know, be able to say we put our mark on that place, and we need them all over the country because there's other parents, you know, sitting in other states going, what about my child?
Yes.
What about what's my future as a young adult with disability? Where are my peers? Where is my community? Where is my tribe? And so that's our calling, and we know it, and our kids know it, that's what we're going to leave behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, you know, the best part of it is watching our kids see the movie and be able to see us in a different light. It was also the challenge of the movie because, you know, for instance, like my dad's not really a part of this movie, even though he's an unbelievable part of our lives and our kids' lives, and we have a great relationship. But that wasn't the story that we went down, because obviously I was raised in a single parent household with my mom and the connection with Brenda. And so, you know, it's the beautiful part of it, and sometimes it's the tough part is you don't get to tell the whole story. You've got to figure out the right story. And the great thing at the end of the day is I believe we got the right story, and a story that's really going to connect with people.
You did, man. You did too. You both did. I mean, it really is. Again, Susie and I, we walked out of the theater feeling good about ourselves. We felt good about our family. We felt good about the world. And we also did have a similar reaction that your kids had, like, because we've heard your story, you know, we know you, we've had dinner, we've hung out, we know each other, and it's just like, wow, okay, that's the way it felt when you were going through it. Yeah. And then we would see video too, we're like, yeah, Kurt made some good throws, and well, Marshall was that fast, you know, like, and it really is amazing seeing how it nails it. It just sticks the landing. And you know, I mean, there's a bunch of people who haven't heard your story before, or haven't seen it, or have heard about it, but they were too young to remember it. And so you're leaving that too.
Yeah.
Amazing. Honestly, I could not be happier for you guys, you know. And
we couldn't be happier that you're happy.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I would have been happier instead of, you know, Steve Levy being the guy sitting next to Stewart on SportsCenter in the movie. It could have been me, but, you know,
well, I mean, if
is
you
that
would have
wrong?
just, maybe you just needed to bash me back then. Like, this team's done for. Maybe you didn't say that.
Oh, no,
so we couldn't find that.
I was believing. I was in. I was all in. I was rallying around Kurt Warner from the start. That's what I was doing. And so did Dennis Quaid nail Vermeil? Did he nail
I thought he did a great job with Vermeil. You know, because you look at the little mannerisms as you talked about, like with Zach and myself, and just like the hands in that moment where we'll rally around Kurt Warner and we'll play good football. Just some of those little things. I thought he did a great job. And, you know, the bottom line is you want to hear from Coach Vermeil. Like, when we talk to Coach, how'd we do? Do we get it? And he's like, oh, Dennis did a great job. He actually called him and sent him some wine. So that means he did a good job. He sent him some of the Vermeil wine.
Yes,
so,
and tweet about it.
So he was happy with it. But yeah, I thought he did a great job with it.
That's great. Yeah. That's so awesome. Yeah, and Zachary nailed you. Did Anna Paquin get you down, Pat?
I think so. I think her portrayal shows somebody that you would want in your foxhole, and that you would also want to have a beer with. So I think she got me. I really do. And, you know, I'm not an easy person. So the fact that she cared enough to try and figure out why I believe what I believe, that says something about her. You know, she cared enough to get it right. And she did.
And I believe she got both sides. Because as Brenda said, sometimes I think she's always projected, you know, tough, strong, former Marine, and that's how a lot of people have seen her on the outside. But I've always seen there's a whole nother side to her. You know, it's that vulnerable side. It's the side that's, you know, the mom and the love and all of that stuff that sometimes gets hidden when they just show the headlines. And I thought that's what Anna nailed so well, is you got both sides of it. You get the tough, strong, but then you also get the vulnerable side that completes who Brenda is, and I think really shows her in the light that she deserves to be shown in.
Terrific. It's so great. Before I let you go, the choice to leave out of the movie the moment where Dick Vermeil during August kicked Jeff Wilkins in the leg. I'm wondering, you know, why that wound up on the cutting room floor, Kurt, or that didn't happen. That's
not that I know of. That did not happen.
Well, I mandated to ask you what you think of Urban Meyer's firing. On Wednesday. By the way, during your premiere.
Right, exactly.
That happened during the premiere.
Yeah,
you probably came out of the theater like,
the next
what?
morning. I actually found out the next morning.
Okay.
And I was like, what just happened? And what was the story? Right. But we've talked about it, you know, a number of times now. I still can't wrap my head around these stories that I've heard. I still, in my mind, go, that can't be legit. That can't have really had happened, you know, in numerous different ways. And so, I mean, I'm not surprised after all of this that he's fired.
Right.
You know, you just say to yourself, it's about time if all of this stuff is true. But it's just hard to fathom that a coach goes into a situation, has coached as long as he has had as much success as he's had, and all of these different things of really how he's treated people. Because to me, being a leader on a team and being a head coach is all about how you treat people and getting people to go to battle for you and you know, and want to run through a wall for you. And it's just stuff just kind of flabbergasts me that we keep hearing these kind of stories.
Yeah, it struck me that was the conversation we were having on game day morning throughout the entire year where he had been hired and then went through the draft and then everything else that was going on, was how he would handle the losing. And it looked like he handled the losing the way that apparently he did at Ohio State. He spread the losses 9 out over 7 years as opposed to 11 in 13 weeks. And if that's the way he handled losing in college, that's not the way you can do that in the NFL.
Well, I will say I've seen this game change people. I've seen this happen, is that they're so used to winning that once it starts to turn the other direction, they've never had to learn how to handle it. And you know, we talk about that all the time. You got to be able to know how to deal with those kind of situations, because the NFL is completely different, whether you're a player or a coach. And some guys, it takes time. Some guys never get there where they can fully understand their part in losing because they're not used to having that part.
Well, on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's your guys' story on the silver screen on Christmas Day. So congrats.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Love you guys.
Love you too, man.
And you bet. Have a happy, Merry Christmas.
And you really liked it.
In it. I really did.
Really liked
Two enthusiastic thumbs up. And again, it's one of the conversations we had, Susie and I, which is like one of those things. It's just like, yes, we know them. Yes, we love them. Yes, we know their story. But that in its own right is a beautiful movie. You know, and a great sports movie on top of it. It's in the mix. It's in the mix. It's terrific. Kurt and Brenda Warner, everyone should see American Underdog in a theater near you on Christmas Day. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.